Hey VC members, it's Matt again, and video number 2 of the day. So I've been reviewing Paul McCartney albums in the order that they were released. Just did a video about half an hour or so ago that I posted on Tug of War from 1982. Wonderful album in my opinion, one of my favorites of his solo albums. And yeah, he had a really strong start to the 80s with McCartney 2 in 1980 and then following up 2 years later with Tug of War. And really a strong run from Band on the Run up through Tug of War when you think about it, with the exception of Wings at the Speed of Sound, which is just an awful album. But everything else was pretty strong and good, great stuff. But unfortunately, all things must pass, as his former bandmate said, and most of the rest of the 80s is, I'm afraid, probably not going to be as enjoyable or fun. We go on to the next album with that in mind. Pipes of Peace came out October 17th of 1983. Got to number 4 in the UK. Not so much in the US. It only got to number 15. Here's my copy. That's the archive edition. There's the front cover. Inside gatefold is just pictures of the people that played on the album, including Ringo. I think. Well, he's not on there, but I think, yeah, there he is. He plays. Uh, Not the greatest cover, but the back cover shot, that's not half bad. I like that all right. Yeah, I would have thought, because on the Tug of War album, there's 2 duets with Stevie Wonder. This time around, he's got 2 with Michael Jackson. And the fact that Michael Jackson was anywhere and everywhere and all over the place in 1983, you would have thought that would have helped this album's sales a little more in the US, but apparently it didn't, even though it did on one of the singles. Um, this is an album I don't play very much, and it's an album that I don't really like very much, but at the same time, it does have its moments. So it's kind of a not very strong album, but not without some attributes. Let's just get into the songs right away. Pipes of Peace, the title track, is the first song, just as Tug of War, the title track, was the first song on the preceding album. Pipes went to number 1 in England. It was actually a B-side of a single here, so it didn't chart. But I think it was the only number 1 song that Paul ever had in England as a solo artist. He did, of course, with the Beatles and Wings, and some other things that he's on, like the Feed the World, Let 'Em Know It's Christmas single, and so forth. But this is his sole number 1 song as a solo, just Paul over in England. Um, yeah, it's a pretty good start. It's not the best song, but I enjoy it. I like the marching drums. I like the I guess those are like tabla drums playing about midway through the song. I like that. I generally like the song. Remember the video being all over MTV where he's playing a World War One soldier. He had his hair cut short. It looked pretty cool, I thought. Enjoyed the video. I enjoyed the song enough that I will give it an 8. And it's, well, we'll get to, I think it's probably the second favorite song on the album. It's no great masterpiece, but it's enjoyable enough. I like it. Second song was the big hit, went to number 1 in the U.S. This the Michael Jackson duet, the first of the 2, Say, Say, Say. I remember this video being all over MTV. I remember the song being all over the radio. This is back in the days when MTV was still, you know, everyone watched it and it was still fun to watch before it went to crap. But it's, I guess it's a better song than Ebony and Ivory, music wise. It's again, it's not a great song, but it's not one that I ever seek out, that I'm in the mood to hear. But when I hear it, I don't really mind it. I'll give it a 7. It's not his best, and not Michael Jackson's best either, for that matter. But it's enjoyable enough. I know a lot of people write it off as sort of the cliche, silly McCartney lightweight stuff, and it probably is, but for being a lightweight song, it's okay. Even though, like I said, it's not like I don't know, Old Siam Sir or Another Day or something that I actively ever am in the mood to listen to or seek out and play specifically. But when I hear it, I don't hate it. It's all right. I'll give it a 7. That might be a little too high, but I'll stick with the 7. Um, Number 3 is called the third track is called The Other Me. I acted like a dustbin lid, so you've got stupid lyrics again. I really wish he would spend some more time on his lyrics. Uh, Slightly catchy song, but it's really pretty bland and doesn't go anywhere. Um, the thing about this that hit me was because this was '83, and 83 was a great year. Early '80s were great, but sort of all '80s music sounded like this song after '85 or so. Not all of them, but a big bunch of them did. This just sort of pleasantly meaningless, bland music, and that's when music, in my opinion, really nosedived and never recovered since. But the ending of it's better than the beginning, but in the end, there's really not much here. I give The Other Me a 3. So we move on to number 4 on the album. Fourth track, Things Get Better with This. This is Keep Undercover. Uh, Beginning of it, you think it's going to be another boring song like The Other Me, but then it sort of kicks in with the, I don't know what you want to call them, uh, dueling violins. Uh, Upbeat song. It's my favorite on the album. I give it an 8.5 just because I know Joe on his live chat last night was threw a fit about people doing a 8.5 or something instead of just an 8 or a 9. I like it. I think it's this should have been on the Pure McCartney set, and for all I know, maybe it was because I've got that on CD and on vinyl, but there's like 500 songs on there, so it might be tucked away in there somewhere. But I think it's really good, unknown McCartney song, a deep track that was sort of overlooked. An enjoyable song and the highlight of the album to me. Then we close out side one with So Bad with Paul singing falsetto. This was the single that Pipes of Peace was the flip side of. So Bad didn't do so good in America. It only got to number 23. I do remember hearing on the radio occasionally back then, and there might have been a video for it. I can't recall, but I don't know. He's singing the high falsetto throughout the song, and probably that was inspired because he was buddies and hanging around with Michael Jackson at this time. This was before Jackson bought the Beatles catalog, and they kind of fell out. But I think it's better. Um, it's okay. It just doesn't really. Um, it sounds like a song that I want to like at first, but then it just sort of goes on and doesn't really go anywhere. The falsetto thing worked a lot better. Brian Wilson on "Don't Worry Baby," which is a much better song than "So Bad." This also has a little bit of to me, the sound of kind of the new romantic movement in music that was going on in late '82 and early '83, something like "True" by Spandau Ballet, which had come out in April of '83 and was a #1 hit in England. I think it got to like number 4 or 5 in America. Maybe that sort of influenced him because that sound was kind of around. It's reminiscent of that a little bit, but it's not as good as the better songs of that musical movement back in those days. Um, I'll give So Bad. I give it a 5. It's okay. We flip over to side 2 and things go downhill fast, at least with the first track. This is the second collaboration with Jackson and McCartney, or the second on this album. They've done stuff before this, but a song called The Man, which is, um, well, it just sucks. It's just terrible. It's an awful song. There's not much else to say about it. I give it a 1. And I don't mind that he worked with Jackson because he got a few good songs out of it, and the same with Stevie Wonder. But would have been really cool if maybe he had also, or instead of Jackson, or also worked with Prince, or maybe even George Clinton of Parliament Funkadelic. I don't know how realistic such hopes are, but I bet it would have produced something a lot more interesting than what he did with Jackson or even Stevie Wonder, because Stevie Wonder was kind of past his prime as an artist by '82, unfortunately. Um, I don't know. Anyway, the man gets a one. It's the weakest track on the album. Next, we go to song two on side two, "The Sweetest Little Thing." Not a big deal song, but it's catchy. I like the guitar bits towards the end of the song. It's I'm going to give it a six. It's enjoyable. Uh, got a nice little melody. I'll give it a six. Number three is "Average Person." Stupid lyrics again, which is a McCartney trademark, unfortunately, too much of the time. Reminds me of another song, but I was thinking while I was playing it, because I just played it. I hadn't played this album in a while, so I played it a couple of times today, and I just can't think of what the song is, but there's some song that it kind of sounds like and reminds me of. It's a silly song. It's a fun song, though. I give it a 6.5. There you go again, Joe. 6.5. Number four is "Hey Hey," which has these very deep and meaningful lyrics throughout the song. Hey, 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 hey. Uh, yeah, it's Stanley Clarke, the other great bass player, and Paul McCartney working together on this song. It's, I guess it's slightly enjoyable, but both have done much better. School Days with Stanley Clarke and McCartney's done much better than this. Uh, it's chugs along, pretty meaningless. I give it a three. "Tug of Peace" is song number five. Sounds like a lot of the bad, and the '80s. Don't get me wrong, the '80s is probably my second favorite decade of music after the '60s. There's good '80s and there's bad '80s, and this isn't very good '80s. It sounds like something like the Sun City song with Little Steven and all those people, and several other songs like that. It's okay, but it's not that okay. It gets a three as well. And what do we got left here? "Through Our Love" is a mid-tempo ballad to end the album. It's sweet and pretty unmemorable. I'll give it a four. So that's it. Altogether, I'm going to give this album a rather lukewarm five. Uh, yeah, it's when I play it, I'm reminded that there's some bits here that I actually like, but it's just that I'm rarely ever in the mood to play it. I bought this when it came out on the archive edition here back in 2012, 13, whenever it was, and I wasn't really that familiar with the album other than the hits and the old MTV videos. And I played it quite a bit to get familiar with it, but then since then I've never really played it too much. And this was there were, of the original run of McCartney albums post Beatles in the '70s, I bought all of them except for uh, Wings at the Speed of Sound and Red Rose Speedway. I didn't buy those till quite a bit later, even though I'd heard them. But I knew neither one of them was very good albums, so I just didn't get around to buying them till later. But I bought all the rest of the albums, and starting with, I think, London Town, I bought them when they came out, and this was the first one. So I bought, London Town, McCartney 2, Back to the Egg, Tug of War, and all that. This is the first one I didn't bother going out to buy back in '83 when it came out, and just from what I heard, I had the feeling that it wasn't a very strong album, and it's not, even though it does have certain charm to it. But um, even with that, I can't really go more than five on this. And so we'll see if things get better. We'll be back with the next McCartney album, and we'll talk to you later.